Hello, and welcome to Checking In with Antoine and Pam. I'm Antoine Lee.
And I'm Pam Lee.
And here, we're doing this. So what is this? What is this about? We've been doing quite a few series, but we decided for 2022, we wanted to have something where we'll be together for about 15 minutes or so. And Pam and I were talking, and so we said about this idea of having a series where couples can kind of hear a little something to chew on, a nugget, especially those of us from the household of faith. If you're a Christian, if you're a Bible believing person, or not, you don't have to be, but if you're just curious,
Yeah.
but also kind of between our expertise, between being married 31 years, no, not 30, 31. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
31.
I messed up. 31
It's been
years. And kind of the mix of being disciples for over 30 something years, of course, because we were disciples before we got married, having adult children. And then I just happened to be a marriage counselor.
Not just happened.
Yeah,
but
well,
that is
right.
what you
So
do.
that into it. So we see a lot, and we're deacons. I'm a deacon. So there's debate. Is she a deaconess? I don't know. But yes. So but like we're in this world that we figured it'd be good just to do something, just to give couples something to chew on. And you may say, well, you may be asking, so why is that important? Why should, as a married couple, we have the scriptures, we have the Lord. What can you offer? We want to offer not so much us being the experts, because I don't believe in an expert view of reality, but kind of realizing that
A tool.
tools.
We're a tool. We are a tool, and we'll give you tools to check in weekly with each other to see how you're doing.
Yes. So look, this all started. The reason why we're doing this, and we do have a challenge for you as well, but this all started when we were talking about, man, what do married couples need in our fellowship? What do married couples need in general, whether you're in our church or not? And this scripture really came to my mind in Proverbs chapter 4. And most of us know this well. This is from when we were cutting our teeth. 4 verse 20 says, "My son, pay attention to what I say. Turn your ear to my words. Do not let them out of your sight. Keep them within your heart, for they are life to those who find them and health to one's body. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." That has really been on my heart lately, because one thing that I've seen, and like I say, I see it more and more in my own life, but now I've been seeing it in the couples that we get together with, is couples who there's no infidelity, there's no major issue like addiction or like some major struggle in life or even health problems.
Okay.
And I've seen couples who go from being deeply in love to deeply either despising each other or kind of just putting up with each other. And they're really in this weird place. And one of the things that I know is for people of a biblical view, an idea that I think we don't emphasize enough.
Okay.
Is that especially not even especially, whether you're married or not, that one of the jobs that we've got is to be able to guard our heart. The Bible's view of the heart being the source from which our emotional life, our thoughts, our attitudes, our actions, our worldviews all come from this center that the Bible kind of lumps all together using words like, they use the internal organ words like heart and spleen and all this other stuff. And here, Solomon, the Spirit here is emphasizing that that's what we got to guard. We got to guard it. It's that thing within us that if we're not very aware of that part of us, we will end up in bad places. But it's this idea of the heart. Does that make sense?
Guard in the sense of protect what goes in and comes out, or guard in the sense of looking inside at your heart and constantly doing a check of what's in there.
It's looking inside your heart and constantly doing a check of what's in there. But it's like this. Look, one of the things in the Bible, and you see this with Jesus, when he says in Matthew, I think it's chapter 6, if I got it right, 5 or 6, where Jesus talks about the heart and the treasures.
Okay.
The treasures. See, Jesus says like wherever your heart is, there wherever your treasure is, there your heart will be also. There's a work, and this is from a guy who does like the world of psychology, a guy named Jonathan Haidt, who gave this very good analogy, but I think it's very close to the biblical view.
Okay.
He says we are like, picture what our brains are like. Picture a huge, strong, healthy elephant,
Okay.
right?
Huge
And then
elephant.
on top is a real small, petite guy, and he's on top of the elephant.
Tiny man.
Tiny man. He thinks he controls the elephant, but what his job is actually, he doesn't really control the elephant. The elephant is very determined. After the elephant does something, he gives the rationale and explains it. So, for example,
Okay.
after the elephant goes and eats donuts that it shouldn't eat, the rider on the top of the elephant will say, well, you know what? I probably need these donuts because carbohydrates are good, and sugar is good,
Good call.
and I need some energy. So yeah, it's probably best that I eat these right now instead of those apples and that salad. Yeah, that's what's happening. And then what happens is we think we're the rider and we're in control, but we're not really in control.
So our heart is more like the elephant.
Our heart, the biblical view of heart, is like the elephant. We think we control it, but I think that's why Solomon would say you got to guard it. You got to be careful of what's happening with it, influence it, because once it gets set, and I've seen this happen with couples where, for example, once your heart it sets its heart on a certain view or idea, a stronghold, it'll get stuck. And this is where I've seen couples where once you get a certain view of your husband or your wife and it gets really in there, it's really tough to make it, you can't just snap it away.
So to me, it's kind of like both. So I've got to I got to guard my heart in a sense that there are things there from growing up, experiences that are in
All
there
goes into
already.
the elephant, yes.
Also, what I put myself around and what I think about, what I read, what I'm influenced by also will
Yes.
go in there. And those two things together will set my heart in a certain way. Is that what you're saying?
And it like sets your heart in a certain way. Like he says, everything flows from it. Our behaviors, our emotional life, everything else comes from what happens in our heart. That's why like parenting is so important. But I'm thinking about even with us as a married couple and other married couples, is to realize that what you do as a married couple on Monday will affect what's going to go on in your marriage on Saturday, what you invest. But again, it's this idea of that elephant and rider. So for example, if you have to give two couples, one couple decides that they are going to go and have some quality date night, fun time together every week, no matter what. That couple will do far better than the other couple that kind of wings it every week. Why?
Because time invested.
Talk to me about it.
I know that for us, when we are spending time together, I feel like you're pouring into me. And I feel close to you, and I feel like I can talk to you. But if I feel like you're doing your thing and I'm doing my thing, it's easy for me to fill in the missing time with negative thoughts. Or maybe he don't want to, or maybe he don't think I look good, or maybe he don't think I'm cute, or maybe, and that negativity, right, later down the line is gonna make me feel not close to you.
Yep. Look, and one of the skills that I know has helped us, and it's funny, this is what I always feel like when we do marriage retreats, when we have a really good sermon, we have a really good time with God, the thing that does, what the Spirit does, is it, for a moment, it keeps you very aware of choices and decisions, because you look at where you are, you take perspective, and then you say, man, this is where I'm at. And then you say, I'm going to choose. Even though the elephant don't want to go, I'm going to choose this. Even though right now I am so annoyed with Pam or with my husband, that I know I just can't stand them. that's a bad place to be. I could see why, but you know what? The Bible calls me, Christ calls me to obedience. I'm going to speak kindly to them, even though everything in me wants to scream. Now, to do that, it takes a very but here's the funny thing. The elephant is still pushing in one direction, so you've got to kind of get that strength to be able to kind of gently influence. But it comes from realizing the elephant is the heart is kind of hard to rein in. Does that make sense, or what do you say?
It does. Like, I'm thinking about, like, with us, and how for years my heart was a heart of, I'm not letting nobody get over on me. Antoine not getting over on me. So whatever come, when I think he's trying to play me, I'm gonna, right? And I will use my words and make sure you know you're not getting over on me. That's my heart, right? But I had to learn to assume the best. Assume that Antoine loves me. He's not trying to get over on me. He's not trying to be one up, especially with the budget, right? When you would say, "Oh, you got $20 and I got $20," and I would end up spending my $20 on the kids, and you sitting there like the king. You got your $20 still in your pocket, and I would feel like you're not getting over on me. I work hard too. Where's my money, right?
Right.
But I had to learn that's your natural leaning to not trust Antoine. Move to the other side. Antoine loves you. You're a team. You're working together. The Bible says that two become one, right? So I had to over and over train that elephant to think good about you and not bad about you, so we could work together.
Yeah, that's it. You said train that elephant. That we can influence that elephant, but it's not easy. So, for example, that's one of the things and when I put the counselor hat on 99% of the time, I will challenge couples to do small things that make a difference often. It'll be have the date night every week. You say, well, that's why they pay you to say that, because it's just something we don't. It's those kind of practices that just escape. I encourage, especially
to do the check-ins.
And well, it's one of the main reasons we want to be able to do what we're doing right now. Is look, one of the things that I've seen make a huge difference for us.
Yep.
When we made the commitment to, and we've been doing it for years, when we have what we call a couples discipling time, what that tends to do, and it's different people have been in their lives for it. But when you have every week or every other week where you sit down with another couple and just talk about how you're doing, the real power, strangely, isn't, I don't think, in the other couple. I mean, you have to be trustworthy and somebody who loves you.
No, it's in the talking about it.
Why is that? What's so? Go ahead.
To me, it's in the talking about it. It's in the
how we're doing.
How we're doing, right? Because we spend our lives helping everybody else. We're helping this person, our kids, our this, our jobs, our da 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 da. And it's at that moment where I sit and I think, how is Pam doing? And I either get encouragement or I get challenged to take care of Pam spiritually in our marriage. Mm-hmm. And so the power to me is the conversation, not necessarily that the person you're talking to has all the
answers and all the wisdom. Yeah, and so look, that discipline of getting together with another couple that's older or more mature, of course, they got to be wise and all that stuff, no doubt. And that's what's helped us. And I'll say this, that is something powerful about regularly just seeing how is our marriage going.
Yeah.
Having somebody else there just makes it all the more powerful.
Right.
But that practice in general of sometimes in Gottman training, they called it a weekly state of the union, where you talk about some of the more emotional things. How am I really feeling? You check in with each other. You talk about, how was this week for you? Were you happy this week, or were you encouraged? Or, I noticed you seem a little edgy, or how are you doing with that job? But it's not a date night. It's not a griping time.
Nope.
It's not what's the word? It's not just fun, and it could be light, but it needs to be something that we see how we are doing, not the kids,
right? Not
what your role in job or ministry,
right?
But just how are we doing? that's a practice. Like I said, Gottman calls it a state of the union meeting. People give it different names. I've seen
Right.
different couples. But I think that's one of the reasons we want to do the video series, is because we wanted to give couples something that can begin a conversation or can help that process, where you look at this together, think about it. And so I wanted to end up with kind of one suggestion that would kind of start us off like a weekly something to chew on and discuss
Yep.
with couples. What do you think?
I like the chew on and discuss. Something that this is a quick discussion to start
Conversation started.
a conversation between us about how we're doing, really.
About how we are doing.
How we're doing, really.
Yeah, how we're doing really, how I may be doing, and how we may be doing really. Something, but keeping it not a gloomy. That almost sounds a little scary for men. You know, men get a little leery about that. You know.
No, but it's nothing worse than telling everybody, "Oh, my wife is doing good. She's doing really good.
Oh,
my wife
Lord.
is doing really good." And then you sit down and your wife go, "Well, actually, don't you remember you said da 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 da?" And I'm
You don't.
so
You don't
this
know
is
how many times take a count. How many times have we been
A
in?
lot.
Sometimes it'll be more
A
than
lot.
two couples. It'll be like three
lot.
couples, and
and
we'll
it's
be
not
sitting
always
around,
it's not always the husband, and sometimes it's the
and
wife.
they'll be sitting around me and say, "Well, how are you doing?" I was like, "We're doing great, right, hon?" And then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
You
So
know, like,
this is a check-in to make sure that we know
how we just with the stuff that's
you know
hard to
how
talk
much
about.
money is in the bank, for sure.
The emotional bank account, right? It's like basically if it was money, it'd be looking at the bank account. Okay, how are we really doing? What's going on with that?
How much money? we got.
Look, one thing I can encourage. Starting off, something that's made a big difference for us, is you want to have just sort of a beginning topic. One great topic could be for a first discussion to say, man, after you look at what we talk about, a couple can decide, and they can talk about something like this. Man, do we have time in our marriage during the week that helps us to check in with each other?
Do we even have it?
Do we have a time during the week, whether you got 15 kids, I don't care, whether you got the really intense job and maybe there's a lot of Lord knows, look, this is probably one of the most hard times in our history to be an adult or to be a child, in fact, between all the lockdowns, the virus fears, the fear, the stress, the shifting, the moving, the changing. Do we have a time that we can stop for a moment, sit down with each other? Is that happening? Do we need to start having that? I think that'll be. I want to give everybody that encouragement. Is to think about and to talk to your husband or your wife about, man, what we talked about here today, about this idea of guarding our hearts, this idea of how, and Pam shared it, this idea of, in essence, it's called the emotional bank account, but we got to pay attention to it. We got to pay attention to it, our hearts as well as what goes on between us. And it's wise to schedule time just to see how we are doing. You can make it very prayerful, but you want it to be a conversation about, man, I don't care about how this is doing or that are doing, how we are. Is that a good?
That's a very good challenge. If you could start with, even if you don't know what you're going to talk about yet, do you have a time outside? I know for us, we used to only have these talks
We would go
after an
someplace.
argument, but also after an
well,
argument,
yes,
in the middle
yeah,
of an
right.
argument. But this is like a quiet time, a time planned for us to sit down and talk about how we're doing. That's planned.
Yes. So first encouragement to sit down with your spouse and just ask, man, should we start having a weekly time where we just check in with each other, how we're doing individually, how we're doing as a couple, how is our marriage going, how we're doing in our faith, ups, downs, twists, turns. There's a lot of resources, but I want to encourage us. Let's try it, and let's see what happens. That can really help build. Remember, guard your heart. Trust me, if we don't guard our hearts, they could go to places that are really hard to come. Not impossible, but really hard. And I've seen it to come back from. So guys, thank you so much, and look forward to hearing from you or
seeing you at the next.
See you at the next check.